Hi. Oh. Hi, my name is Chris. Well, Christine Hua. I just got married, so I have to get used to saying that. I like it because Hua is a lot easier to fingerspell than Macalonin. P-U-A. M-C-A-L-O-N-A-N. So I'm telling everyone, my name is Christine Hua. I grew up in Ohio. I'm from a small town too. The nearest city is Akron, but I'm from Uniontown. Really, I grew up and lived in the same house my whole life until I graduated from high school. And my dad actually grew up in that house too, so it's pretty cool. But once I graduated high school, I moved straight to Chicago, and I had a plan. I was all set out. I was very independent, sorry. And I came here to go to culinary school. So my plan was completely different back then than what it is now. I went to the Cooking and Hospitality Institute of Chicago, and there it's just an associate's program. So I graduated there, and I worked in kitchens for three years. Also, that's where I met my husband in cooking school. So I did get something out of it, besides learning how to cook. So I worked in kitchens for like 3 years, and I decided that if my husband and I, we were both cooks, we were working holidays and nights and weekends, and my priorities were just starting to change. I knew that we were going to be together and that eventually we would want to have a family, and it just wouldn't work out if we were both stuck to that strict schedule of working in the kitchen. So he's a lot older than me, and I decided he's too old to go back to school, so I needed to go back to school for something. And it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do because I really love to cook, and that's my passion. I thought that I would do that forever. So I was really thinking hard about what else could I possibly be interested in doing. And my mom actually has an associate's degree in ASL interpretation. And so growing up, she had taught me a few signs and like Christmas songs and the alphabet and stuff. So I always kind of kept it in the back of my head and thought that it was interesting. So I decided to come back to school for that. Actually, one of my coworkers at the hotel, he really encouraged me to just quit my job and go back to school because he knew how miserable I was. And I wasn't 100% sure that interpreting was for me. But once I started school, I really liked ASL and everything. I started here with ASL 1. I didn't really know the language. And I really liked it once I started. So I continued. I think eventually I will want to work in the medical field, maybe at hospitals or something. The blood and guts doesn't bother me like it does Olivia. And I think it would be interesting. The only thing is that I think it's going to be really hard to learn all the terminology and keep up with the doctors and all their special lingo, because even as a patient, I feel like they talk over your head if you speak the same language as them. So I'm worried about that, but really I'm worried about not being experienced enough to work in the medical field, because if you tell them to take 10 pills a day, once a day, every day, instead of take this pill once a day for 10 days, like, you could kill someone easily if you mess up the interpretation, and being that responsible for someone's life really scares me.
Wow. I see a lot of people want to work in hospitals. It's possible to change the communication with deaf and hard of hearing people, and they might have really limited language, but the medical words, they're huge, and it's hard to it's hard to change those really big technical words into something that's easy for them to understand.
Yeah, I feel like people who might have a limited language, it would be hard to work with them. Maybe, I don't know how I would handle that with all the medical terms. Maybe just be more visual and try to use a lot of classifiers, because really the words are big and they're intimidating, but they're all dealing with our bodies, and everyone has a body, and if you point to a spot on your body or like describe it, I think it's easier to understand.
Also, all the devices are that you can use visual aids, and those are very important.
It's nice that the doctor's office would have like pictures and stuff so you could point. As for my 5-year plan, okay. Sorry. Yes, I love to talk about myself, but I want to know a little bit more about you. So you said you work with children and psychology and everything. I feel like it would be fun to work with children, but in that type of atmosphere, it might be tough because it's not just the happy part of working with kids. Do you have any like trouble working with angry kids or kids that have like problems?
Yeah, it's not easy. Really, there's a lot of patience. I have to have a lot of patience with children who have behavioral problems. Oh, there's a big problem with the sex acts outside, and it's hard to deal with all that. And how to confront that and disconnect from the emotional part with it. And we have to deal with their behaviors, because a lot of them are angry, trouble, things like that, and it's a very big challenge. And a lot more of deaf and hard of hearing kids are coming in with a lot of different behavioral problems, and now we're trying to figure out like where we can put them and how we can deal with them. But in my heart, I'm depressed about it, and I'm torn. I'm torn with this job, and it's hard for me to disconnect with everything.
I think I would have a huge problem with being emotionally disconnected from all the children's lives and everything that's happened to them.
Yeah.
Even right now, I'm getting like sad thinking about little kids. So let's talk about your photography. Maybe that'll brighten up the mood a little bit. You said that right now you're really focusing on portraits and working on that, do you take pictures of people you know, or do you just ask random people that you meet if it's okay to take their picture?
I would prefer to do with friends and people I know. If it's a stranger, I'll ask them and then maybe I'll pay them too. And it's really awkward.
I feel like if you just took a ride on the CTA, you would find a lot of interesting people to get headshots of.